Hi ladies and gents, I'm going to have you work on, in this tutorial, Silhouette Studio and your initial design project. So first I want you to, when you are on your computer, if you go down to the bottom and you go to the Applications folder, and you click on that, you're going to be looking for this piece of software where it says Silhouette Studio. And if you click on that and open it up, it will likely take a minute or two to open up. And when you get to this, registering your electronic cutting tool, you'll click continue and just click later. Okay? So this is going to take a moment to load up. And while it does that, I'm going to explain exactly what this software is. This is a piece of software that you can use to create well, certain things that you can use one of our cutters. It's a fabrication machine. That's what they call it. And you're going to essentially give it the code to tell it what it's going to cut out. So if this message pops up about new versions, just click continue. Don't go through and download the new version. So if you click on where it says design, you're going to notice it's going to create a whole new page for you, and it's going to say the name of it down here in the lower left, and I'm going to point out some of the basic features of this program. So there's a lot of little tiny buttons around the top and around the left hand side, and some of these things you're not going to use, but some of them you will. First of all, you want this page over here that says design page settings. You're going to do something in here first. If that does not pop up, you want to click on the little tiny button that looks like a piece of paper that has the arrows that point to the left or the right. If for any reason your window is shorter, and you don't see those buttons, like if it looks like that, you're going to want to click on that drop down arrow so that you can find that. You might want to make this just a little larger for today. So we need to adjust the size of the cutting mat first. So you see how this says cutting mat Cameo 12 inches by 12 inches. Well, we don't have a Cameo. What we have is a portrait. It's 8 by 12. So it's going to make it so that this thing, the cutting mat surface, and you can see this little arrow, is a little smaller. Now, the size of our paper is not 12 inches by 12 inches. We're using 8 inches by 12 inches. So let's change the orientation first. So let's have this be 90 degrees. And then let's have our height, as it flips again, let's have our height, just highlight that and change that to 8. And so it's going to be 12 inches by 8 inches. So here we go. Now this is all kind of set up. Now what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a project that is your initials. And you're going to take the letters of your name and you're going to kind of squish them in such a way so that you're creating a sort of a symbol of your initials. So you're going to need to start off by drawing out what your initials look like. Now, there's a couple different pen tools on the left-hand side over here. There's some that create things in a little bit more of a smooth manner. If you notice, this is a spiral I just drew using the Draw Smooth freehand. If you use the regular pencil freehand, it makes things just as much as you can click. There's also Draw a Curved Shape, which lets you click and drag to create things in a curved manner. It's a multiple click sort of project. And then there's one where it's Draw a Polygon, where all of the lines that you draw are going to be nice and straight. Okay. Now I'm going to let you know, if you use anything that involves these straight lines, if you hold down the Shift key, like I'm doing right now, it forces your lines to go at either 90-degree angles, up and down, left, right, or at the 45-degree angle, which is like the exact diagonal. This can be helpful if you're trying to create things like, I don't know, letter M's or N's. Okay? And then if you want to get rid of it, just click on the last point. Double click on the last point. Okay. So these lines are super thin. And if I click on this arrow, you can select your shape. And so we're going to need to adjust the thickness of these lines. And up here at the top, do you notice how it says the line style? Well, you can change the line thickness of your shape to something that's a lot thicker. Okay? Now you can tell that some of these are a little insane, but some of them are a little bit more straightforward. So you might try to figure out which one of these do you want to do first. Do you want to have thick lines first, or do you want to have thin lines first? If you do thin lines first, you might make some adjustments to your shapes, and then you make them thick a little bit later. Okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my initials to show you my example. So I'm going to delete all of those shapes. And by the way, I just clicked on them and I pressed delete. So I'm going to use this right here, which is the freehand curve. Okay? So I have an E and a G in my name. So let's see. I have an E, and I can draw a nice little straight line. Okay? And I've got a G. So let's see here. There's that. So, okay. So I have the letter E and I have the letter G. Those are my initials, my first name and my last name. Now something immediately pops out to me that I have some similar shapes in my first and my last name. So what I might do, if I want to combine these two shapes into a symbol, I might just squish these two things together so that I use the same curve, and I have the line from the E just go straight over there, and I keep the G together like that. So I might go, okay. And that's pretty easy. Now I have the benefit of having initials that do this. But you might have initials that don't. You might have to start to think, how can I combine these two letters together? You might have like a letter O and you might have a letter N. Okay, well, how could you do that in such a way? How could you make it so that your initials kind of fit together? And some of them are a little bit easier than others to kind of figure out. But if you have letters like that, I can see the O and I can see the N. You might have a name that has like a letter like a J in it and an E. Well, try to find similarities in the two different letters, like the J and the E. Those kind of come together. Whoop, so I accidentally make an additional thing. And I clearly can see the J and I clearly can see the E. And don't forget that some letters, of course, can be drawn lowercase as well if you need to. And sometimes what you've created just doesn't look right, and so you can go back and you can delete them. So the other thing I can do is I can just left click and I can highlight a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want, and I can just click on delete. So let's say I like this. Let's say I like this, and I highlight and I drag. I can make my line thickness thicker. I can still go in and I can edit each individual line, so I can try to pull things out. If you need to get rid of any sort of extra bits, you might go, oh, okay, I want to make this a nice flat edge, so I can try to cut out of tree non-filled shape says, let's see, oh, my eraser doesn't seem to be working. Apparently I can't erase. That's odd. I don't know why I can't erase. Oh well. I guess if the eraser doesn't work, then you're going to have to do this without using the eraser. And sometimes you might just want to edit some things. There is this other function, which is the arrow and the little dots, where if you click on your shape, and it will show you the kind of the dots of where the like they call this point editing. If you want to fix just a little bit of a curve at a time. Maybe you want to make it so that some things kind of focus in a little bit more. You notice how when I clicked on this right here, there is no points, but I created a point on this line by clicking on that shape, and then I just created a new line. So that might be a good way to turn an already existing line that you have into one that looks a little bit different and better for you. Don't forget about your best friend if you make a mistake, which is Command Z, of course, right? There we go. So now that I have this all set up and ready to go, if I like the way that this looks, I want to keep in mind that I'm going to be using my fabrication device, and it's going to cut out this shape out of a piece of sticker vinyl. So I'm going to need to think, how is this going to look if I could reach out on the screen and just peel this letter off? If I could just reach out and peel this letter off, you're going to want to think, okay, how is this sticker going to look if I have it in my hands? Are the lines too thin? Are they going to possibly get stuck together to each other? Because the vinyl can be, it can do something that I like to call bird's nest. And that is, as you're trying to peel the vinyl off of itself, off of the other, like the leftover sheets, it'll get stuck to itself and it will want to remain that way forever. Think as you're pulling a piece of tape. If you ever get the tape stuck to itself, you know how usually you have to cut off that piece that's stuck to itself and throw it away. So you might have to think, okay, is this going to be too thick or is this going to be too thin? And maybe you should increase the line thickness. Again, that's up here. It looks like tiny dashes as they get as they get less dashy up here. Okay. So the next thing that you're going to want to do when it comes to making sure that your letters are good, if you are going to have anything that is going to be completely cut out, your sticker is only going to be, what's left behind is that colored shape. So if you have anything that's off to the side, keep in mind that that stuff's going to be left on the sticker itself. So if you have anything that completely has a total circle, like this guy's got itself a nice big circle. You know, as you peel off the red stuff on the inside, anything left on anything in here is just going to be left behind. So if you think that you're going to make a fantastic shape, like, you know, oh, I've got my O and I've got my N in there, and that all looks great and amazing and stuff like that. Well, it's a backwards N. Keep in mind that if you peel off the outer edge of this letter O, the N is going to be left inside what remains, which is this thing. You actually have two separate stickers. So that's not really going to work. Okay. So my shape, if I click on it, you see how it's about 1.5 inches wide and about 2 inches tall. So you might have to think about how big that is as a visual. Your name tag should be 3 by 5 inches. So this is not quite as tall as a name tag. It's about 2/3 of the height of a name tag, and it's about 1/3 of the thickness or the width of a name tag. So this is kind of small. It's not so bad.